Every American family in the 1970s knew the same quiet truth. A single dollar could still put a warm, filling supper on the table if you knew what your grandmother knew. If you grew up in an American kitchen in the 1970s, you already know that feeling. Coming home to something warm on the stove that cost almost nothing and meant everything. These are 25 forgotten $1 comfort foods that taste better than you remember. Subscribe before we begin. The countdown starts now. Tomato rice soup with grilled cheese. The supper that paired a thin tomato rice soup with a crisp grilled cheese, the most comforting dollar a family ever spent. A can of tomato soup cost 10 cents in 1972. Today, around $1.19. Rice, bread, butter, and cheese. Total then, under 50 cents. Today, under $4. Fed 4. You simmer tomato soup with cooked rice and a little milk. You grill cheese sandwiches in butter until golden. You serve them together. The soup goes red and creamy. The rice gives it body. The grilled cheese crunches alongside. Tomato rice soup with grilled cheese came from American Depression era and mid-century cooking. By 1972, it was a rainy day comfort supper nationwide. A dollar's worth of pure comfort on a cold night. Egg drop hamburger soup. The thin, savory soup that stretched a little ground beef with ribbons of egg dropped into hot broth. Ground beef cost 39 cents a pound in 1973. Today, around $5.50. Eggs, onion, and broth. Total then under 70 cents. Today, under $6. Fed 5. You brown a little beef with onion. You add broth and bring it to a boil. You slowly pour beaten egg in while stirring to make ribbons. The broth goes savory. The egg forms silky ribbons. The beef flavors everything. Egg drop hamburger soup came from thrifty American interpretations of Chinese egg drop soup. By 1973, it was a budget comfort supper nationwide. A little beef, a couple eggs, a whole pot of warmth. Goldenrod eggs on toast. The supper that turned hard-boiled eggs into a creamy white sauce over toast, the chopped yolk scattered on top like goldenrod. A dozen eggs cost 50 cents in 1973. Today, around $3.49. Butter, flour, milk, and bread. Total then, under 70 cents. Today, under $5. Fed 4. You make a white sauce with butter, flour, and milk. You fold in chopped egg whites. You spoon it over toast and grate the yolk on top. The sauce goes creamy. The whites go tender. The grated yolk dusts the top like gold. Goldenrod eggs came from American and military thrift cooking. By 1973, it was a budget comfort supper nationwide. A dozen eggs turned into a golden supper for pennies. Fried Spam and rice. The supper that crisped slices of spam and served them over rice with a quick, savory glaze. A can of spam cost 59 cents in 1972. Today, around $3.49. Rice, soy sauce, and onion. Total then, under $1. Today, under $6. Fed 4. You fry spam slices until the edges crisp and brown. You serve them over rice with a splash of soy sauce and onion. The spam goes crisp and salty. The rice soaks up the glaze. The onion adds sweetness. Fried spam and rice came from Depression-era and post-war thrift cooking. By 1972, it was a comfort supper in working-class homes nationwide. A can of spam turned into a whole savory supper. Potato pancakes. The crisp golden cakes made from leftover mashed potatoes, fried until brown and eaten with applesauce or sour cream. Leftover mashed potatoes cost nothing. An egg, flour, and onion. Total then under 20 cents. Today under $2. Fed 4. You mix leftover mashed potatoes with egg, flour, and grated onion. You fry spoonfuls in butter until golden and crisp on both sides. The outside goes crisp and brown. The inside stays soft. The onion flavors every bite. Potato pancakes came from German, Jewish, and Eastern European traditions. By 1973, they were a leftover rescue comfort supper nationwide. Yesterday's potatoes turned into today's crispy comfort. Welsh rarebit. The British cheese sauce poured over toast, a rich, savory supper from almost nothing but cheese and bread. Cheddar cost 69 cents a pound in 1972. Today, around $5.49. Butter, flour, milk, mustard, and bread. Total then under 70 cents. Today, under $6. Fed 4. You make a cheese sauce with butter, flour, milk, sharp cheddar, and mustard. You pour it over toast and broil until bubbling. The sauce goes rich and golden. The toast crunches underneath. The mustard sharpens the cheese. Welsh rarebit came from British cooking and crossed into American kitchens long ago. By 1972, it was a comfort supper in homes that needed something rich and cheap. Melted cheese on toast that ate like a feast. Creamed tuna on cornbread. The southern supper that spooned creamy tuna sauce over warm cornbread instead of toast. A can of tuna cost 29 cents in 1973. Today, around $1.89. Cornbread, butter, flour, milk, and peas. Total then under 60 cents. Today, under $5. Fed 4. You make a white sauce with butter, flour, and milk. You fold in tuna and peas. You split warm cornbread and spoon the creamed tuna over it. The cornbread soaks up the sauce. The tuna goes tender. The peas add color. Creamed tuna on cornbread came from Southern thrift cooking. By 1973, it was a comfort supper across the South. A can of tuna turned into the most comforting Southern supper. Hot milk cake. The simple, golden cake made from hot milk, eggs, and sugar. A $1 dessert that tasted like a bakery. Eggs cost 50 cents a dozen in 1972. Today, around $3.49. Flour, sugar, milk, and butter. Total then under 60 cents. Today, under $4. Fed 12. You beat eggs and sugar until thick. You add flour, then hot milk with melted butter. You bake at 350 for 30 minutes. The cake goes golden and tender. The crumb is fine and moist. It tastes far richer than its cost. Hot milk cake came from American home baking traditions dating to the early 1900s. By 1972, it was a budget dessert standard nationwide. A $1 cake that tasted like it came from a bakery. $1 was never just $1 in her hands. It was a warm supper, a full table, and the quiet refusal to let a hard week mean a hungry one. Macaroni and tomato soup. The plainest comfort food. Macaroni stirred into stewed tomatoes with butter until sweet and rich. A box of macaroni cost 15 cents in 1972. Today, around $1.49. Canned tomatoes, butter, and sugar. Total then under 30 cents. Today, under $3. Fed 5. You boil the macaroni and drain it. You stir in stewed tomatoes, butter, and a pinch of sugar. You heat through. The tomatoes break into a sweet sauce. The butter makes it rich. The macaroni soaks it all up. Macaroni and tomatoes came from Southern and Appalachian thrift cooking. By 1972, it was a comfort supper across working-class America. The plainest supper that somehow comforted the most. Chicken livers and rice. The rich, savory supper that simmered cheap chicken livers in gravy over rice. Chicken livers cost 29 cents a pound in 1973. Today, around $2.49. Onion, flour, broth, and rice. Total then under 60 cents. Today, under $5. Fed 4. You brown the livers with onion. You whisk in flour and broth to make gravy. You simmer 10 minutes and serve over rice. The livers go rich and tender. The gravy goes dark and savory. The rice soaks it up. Chicken livers and rice came from Southern and immigrant thrift cooking. By 1973, it was a budget comfort supper nationwide. The cheapest cut turned into the richest gravy. Buttered cabbage and noodles. The Eastern European haluski, egg noodles and cabbage fried together in butter until sweet and golden. A head of cabbage cost 10 cents in 1972. Today, around $2. Egg noodles, butter, and onion. Total then under 40 cents. Today, under $4. Fed 5. You fry shredded cabbage and onion in butter until golden and sweet. You toss in cooked egg noodles and butter. The cabbage goes soft and caramelized. The noodles go buttery. The whole dish is rich and simple. Haluski came from Polish, Hungarian, and Slovak immigrant traditions. By 1972, it was a comfort supper in working-class homes nationwide. Cabbage and noodles, sweet and golden for pocket change. Baked potato soup. The thick, creamy soup that turned a few potatoes into a comforting pot of supper. Potatoes cost 20 cents for 5 pounds in 1973. Today, around $3. Milk, butter, onion, and flour. Total then under 50 cents. Today, under $5. Fed 6. You simmer diced potatoes with onion until tender. You add milk, butter, and a flour slurry to thicken. The soup goes thick and creamy. The potatoes break down. The whole pot is rich and warming. Baked potato soup came from American and Irish thrift cooking. By 1973, it was a winter comfort supper nationwide. A few potatoes turned into a creamy pot of comfort. Cornbread and milk. The supper poured into a glass. Crumbled cornbread in cold buttermilk, eaten with a spoon. The most southern comfort food there is. Cornbread cost almost nothing. A glass of buttermilk. Total then under 15 cents. Today, under $2. Fed 2. You crumble day-old cornbread into a tall glass. You pour cold buttermilk over it. You eat it with a long spoon. The cornbread swells and softens. The buttermilk goes tangy. The whole thing is cold and comforting. Cornbread and milk came from Southern and Appalachian tradition. By the 1970s, it was still a beloved comfort supper across the South. The supper in a glass that every Southerner remembers. Salmon patties with creamed peas. The pairing of crispy salmon patties with a creamy pea sauce, a Friday comfort supper for under $1. A can of salmon cost 49 cents in 1973. Today, around $2.49. Cornmeal, egg, peas, and milk. Total then under $1. Today, under $5. Fed 4. You mix salmon with cornmeal and egg and fry into patties. You make a creamy white sauce with peas. You spoon the peas over the patties. The patties go crisp. The creamed peas go rich. The two together are pure comfort. Salmon patties with creamed peas came from Southern and Midwestern thrift cooking. By 1973, it was a Friday comfort supper nationwide. Crispy salmon and creamy peas, a Friday tradition. You remember the bowl in your hands, the steam on your face, the feeling of being warm and full and safe from a meal that cost almost nothing. Onion pie. The savory custard pie filled with sweet cooked onions. A humble supper that tasted far richer than its cost. Onions cost a few cents in 1972. Pie crust, eggs, milk, and butter. Total then under 50 cents. Today, under $4. Fed 6. You cook sliced onions in butter until soft and sweet. You spread them in a pie crust. You pour over a custard of eggs and milk. You bake at 350 for 45 minutes. The onions go sweet and tender. The custard sets soft. The crust goes golden. Onion pie came from German and English country cooking. By 1972, it was a budget comfort supper in immigrant-rooted homes. A pie of sweet onions that ate like a feast. Poor man's pizza. The English muffin pizza. A quick, cheap supper that gave children pizza without a pizzeria. English muffins cost 29 cents in 1973. Today, around $2.49. Tomato sauce and cheese. Total then under 60 cents. Today, under $5. Fed 4. You split English muffins. You spread tomato sauce and cheese on each. You broil until the cheese bubbles. The muffin goes crisp. The cheese melts and browns. The sauce ties it together. English muffin pizzas came from American home cooking in the 1960s and 1970s. By 1973, they were a children's comfort supper nationwide. Pizza for pennies, straight from the broiler. Rice pudding with raisins. The creamy baked pudding that turned leftover rice into a warm, comforting dessert. Leftover rice cost nothing. Milk, eggs, sugar, and raisins. Total then under 30 cents. Today under $3. Fed 6. You mix rice with milk, eggs, sugar, and raisins. You bake at 325 for 45 minutes until set. The pudding goes creamy. The raisins plump. The cinnamon perfumes the top. Rice pudding came from English and Scandinavian traditions. By the 1970s, it was a beloved comfort dessert nationwide. Leftover rice turned into warm, creamy comfort. Stewed tomatoes and dumplings. The August comfort supper that dropped soft dumplings into sweet stewed tomatoes. Garden tomatoes cost nothing. A can cost 10 cents. Flour, baking powder, and milk. Total then under 20 cents. Today under $3. Fed 5. You stew tomatoes with butter and sugar. You drop dumpling dough on top and cook covered 15 minutes. The dumplings puff soft. They soak up the sweet tomato. The whole pot goes red and golden. Stewed tomatoes and dumplings came from Appalachian and Southern thrift cooking. By the 1970s, it was a summer comfort supper across the South. Garden tomatoes turned into a pot of dumplings and comfort. Fried apples and biscuits. The Southern breakfast for supper of cinnamon sugar fried apples spooned over hot biscuits. Apples cost almost nothing in fall. Butter, sugar, cinnamon, and biscuits. Total then under 40 cents. Today under $4. Fed 5. You fry sliced apples in butter with sugar and cinnamon until soft. You split hot biscuits and spoon the apples over. The apples go soft and caramelized. The biscuits soak up the syrup. The cinnamon fills the kitchen. Fried apples and biscuits came from Appalachian and Southern cooking. By the 1970s, it was a comfort supper across the South. Cinnamon apples over hot biscuits, supper or breakfast. Hamburger rice soup. The thin, hearty soup that stretched a little beef and rice into a whole pot of supper. Ground beef cost 39 cents a pound in 1972. Today, around $5.50. Rice, onion, tomatoes, and broth. Total then under 70 cents. Today under $6. Fed 6. You brown a little beef with onion. You add rice, tomatoes, and broth. You simmer until the rice is tender. The broth goes savory and red. The rice swells. The beef flavors everything. Hamburger rice soup came from universal thrift cooking. By 1972, it was a budget comfort supper nationwide. A little beef and rice, a whole pot of supper. That dollar fed you, and it fed something deeper too. The certainty that no matter how thin the week, someone would always make sure you were warm and full. Cheese and potato pierogi. The Polish dumplings filled with cheesy mashed potato and boiled, then fried in butter and onion. Potatoes cost 20 cents for 5 pounds in 1973. Today, around $3. Flour, egg, cheese, and onion. Total then under 60 cents. Today, under $5. Fed 6. You make a dough and fill it with cheesy mashed potato. You boil the pierogi, then fry them in butter and onion. The dough goes tender, the filling stays creamy. The butter and onion crisp the edges. Pierogi came from Polish and Eastern European immigrant traditions. By the 1970s, they were a comfort supper in working-class homes nationwide. Polish dumplings that turned potatoes into a feast. Bean and bacon soup. The smoky, hearty soup that simmered beans with bacon into a thick pot of comfort. A bag of beans cost 25 cents in 1972. Today, around $2. Bacon, onion, and carrot. Total then under 50 cents. Today, under $5. Fed 8. You simmer soaked beans with bacon, onion, and carrot for 2 hours until creamy. The beans go soft. The bacon flavors the broth. The whole pot turns smoky and thick. Bean and bacon soup came from American thrift cooking. By 1972, it was a winter comfort standard nationwide. A bag of beans and a little bacon, a whole pot of warmth. Johnny cakes for supper. The cornmeal pancakes fried crisp and served with butter and syrup as an evening meal. Cornmeal cost 3 cents a cup in 1972. Today, around 20 cents. Milk, egg, and syrup. Total then under 30 cents. Today, under $3. Fed 4. You mix cornmeal with milk and egg into a batter. You fry it in butter until golden. You serve with butter and syrup. The cakes go crisp at the edges. The inside stays tender. The syrup soaks in. Johnny cakes came from Native American and colonial cornmeal traditions. By the 1970s, they were a breakfast for supper comfort meal nationwide. Cornmeal cakes with syrup, supper for pennies. Creamed chicken on waffles. The comfort supper that ladled creamy chicken over crisp waffles, a humble meal that felt special. A cooked chicken cost 79 cents in 1973. Today, around $7. Flour, milk, butter, and waffle batter. Total then under $1. Today, under $8. Fed 5. You make a cream sauce and fold in diced chicken. You make waffles. You ladle the creamed chicken over them. The waffles go crisp. The cream sauce soaks in. The chicken goes tender. Creamed chicken on waffles came from American comfort cooking. By 1973, it was a Sunday supper in homes nationwide. Creamy chicken over crisp waffles, humble and special. Skillet cornbread with pinto beans. The southern supper of slow-cooked pinto beans served alongside cast-iron cornbread. A bag of pinto beans cost 25 cents in 1972. Today, around $2.49. A ham hock, cornmeal, and buttermilk. Total then under $1. Today, under $6. Fed 8. You simmer pinto beans with a ham hock for 3 hours. You bake cornbread in a cast-iron skillet. You serve them together. The beans go creamy. The cornbread crumbles into the pot liquor. The whole meal is deeply comforting. Beans and cornbread came from Southern and Appalachian tradition. Bread and butter pudding. The dessert that turned stale bread into a warm, custardy pudding studded with raisins. Stale bread cost nothing. Milk, eggs, sugar, butter, and raisins. Total then under 30 cents. Today, under $3. Fed 6. You butter stale bread and layer it with raisins. You pour over a custard of milk, eggs, and sugar. You bake at 350 for 45 minutes. The top goes golden. The inside stays soft as custard. The raisins plump throughout. Bread and butter pudding came from English and American thrift cooking. Cream of wheat for supper. The warm cereal that became an evening meal, cream of wheat with butter, sugar, and milk on the thinnest nights. A box of cream of wheat cost 30 cents in 1973. Today, around $3. Milk, butter, and sugar. Total then under 40 cents. Today, under $4. Fed 4. You cook cream of wheat and milk until thick. You stir in butter and sugar. You pour more cold milk on top. The cereal goes thick and creamy. The butter melts through. The sugar makes it gentle and sweet. Cream of wheat for supper came from American thrift and comfort traditions. By 1973, it was a too-tight-week supper nationwide. Warm cereal that became a comforting supper. Tuna salad on crackers. The supper that needed nothing but a can opener, a fork, and a sleeve of saltines. The end-of-the-day meal a tired mother could assemble before she even took off her shoes. A can of tuna cost 29 cents in 1972. Today, around $1.89. Mayonnaise, onion, salt, and saltine crackers. Total then under 50 cents. Today, under $4. Fed 4. You drain the tuna and flake it into a bowl. You mix in mayonnaise, diced onion, salt, and pepper. You spoon it onto saltine crackers. The tuna salad goes creamy and cool. The saltines snap underneath. The onion gives it a sharp bite. Tuna salad on crackers came from American thrift cooking that stretched a single can across a whole family. By 1972, it was a no-cook weeknight supper in working-class homes everywhere. No stove, no oven, 10 minutes from cupboard to table. Chicken noodle soup with crackers. The supper that came from a can and a sleeve of crackers and warmed up the whole family on a cold night when nobody had the energy to cook anything real. A can of chicken noodle soup cost 12 cents in 1971. Today, around $1.29. A can of water and saltine crackers. Total then under 20 cents. Today, under $3. Fed 2. You empty the soup into a pot with 1 can of water. You heat it until the broth steams and the noodles swell. You crumble saltines into the bowl. The broth goes golden. The noodles float soft. The crackers swell and soften in the liquid. Canned chicken noodle soup became an American staple after Campbell's launched it in 1934. By 1971, it was the universal too-tired-to-cook supper in homes coast to coast. A can and some crackers. The whole family warm in 10 minutes. Bologna and cheese roll-ups. No bread needed, just a slice of bologna, a slice of cheese, and a swipe of mustard rolled up and eaten with your hands. The after-school and too-tired supper of an entire generation. Bologna cost 69 cents a pound in 1973. Today, around $3.49. American cheese and yellow mustard. Total then under 50 cents. Today, under $4. Fed 4. You lay a slice of bologna flat. You spread it with mustard. You lay a slice of cheese on top. You roll it tight and eat it like that. The bologna is soft and salty. The cheese folds inside. The mustard sharpens every bite. Bologna and cheese roll-ups came from American working-class kitchens where lunch meat was always in the refrigerator. By 1973, they were a no-cook supper and snack in homes everywhere. No bread, no plate, no cooking, just rolled up and gone. Sardines on toast. The protein supper that came from a flat little tin and a slice of toast. Cheap, fast, and filling for a working family with no energy left at the end of a long day. A tin of sardines cost 19 cents in 1972. Today, around $2.49. White bread, butter, and lemon or mustard. Total then under 40 cents. Today, under $4. Fed 2. You toast the bread and butter it. You lay the sardines across the toast. You add a squeeze of lemon or a smear of mustard. The sardines are rich and salty. The toast crunches underneath. The lemon cuts through the oil. Sardines on toast came from European and American working-class kitchens, where tinned fish was a cheap protein. By 1972, it was a fast supper in homes that needed food without effort. 1 tin, 1 slice of toast. Supper in 5 minutes. SpaghettiO's style quick pasta. The homemade version of the canned classic. Small pasta in a quick tomato sauce that came together in 10 minutes and made the children cheer. A box of small pasta cost 15 cents in 1973. Today, around $1.49. A can of tomato soup and a little butter. Total then under 40 cents. Today, under $3. Fed 4. You boil the small pasta until tender and drain it. You stir in tomato soup and a spoon of butter. You heat through 2 minutes. The pasta goes soft. The tomato soup coats every piece. The butter makes it rich. SpaghettiOs launched in 1965 and became an instant American children's favorite. By 1973, the homemade version was a fast weeknight supper in homes everywhere. A box of pasta and a can of soup. The children's favorite in 10 minutes. Hard-boiled egg and salt plate. The simplest supper on this list. A few hard-boiled eggs, a shake of salt, and a slice of bread. Protein on the table with almost no effort at all. A dozen eggs cost 50 cents in 1972. Today, around $3.49. Salt and white bread. Total then under 60 cents. Today under $4. Fed 3. You boil the eggs for 10 minutes. You peel them under cold water. You serve them with salt, pepper, and buttered bread. The eggs go firm and rich. The salt brings out the flavor. The bread rounds out the meal. The hard-boiled egg supper came from universal thrift cooking, where eggs were cheap protein. By 1972, it was a fast, no-fuss supper in working-class homes everywhere. Toast with tomato and mayo. The summer supper of the South. A thick slice of ripe tomato on toast with a swipe of mayonnaise and a shake of salt. 3 ingredients, no cooking, pure comfort. A garden tomato cost nothing. White bread and mayonnaise. Total then under 20 cents. Today under $3. Fed 2. You toast the bread. You spread it with mayonnaise. You lay thick slices of ripe tomato on top with salt and pepper. The toast crunches. The tomato is cool and juicy. The mayonnaise ties it together. The tomato and mayo toast came from southern summer cooking, where ripe tomatoes were abundant. By 1972, it was a fast, no-cook supper in homes across the South. Toast, tomato, mayo. Summer supper in 3 minutes.